Oh, rise and grind. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Boiling Frog Phenomenon, Rise and Grind with VinceTagliavia. Today's January 10th, 2024. Thank you for tuning in. If you would, please hit the likes and share and all that. It's great to help me get around here on the interwebs, and I appreciate that. Thank you all who are following, subscribed, and all that. Good morning. Rise and shine. Kick off the covers. Let's conquer the day. Holy moly, is the news cycle just persistent and intense. My gosh, it's insane. I wish I could do some more live broadcasts during the day, but I'm just too busy right now. But as time permits, I do plan on doing that. And among other things, right now I'm working on a documentary on health, because health's kind of pushed to the bottom here lately as we're trying to follow through all the political world news, US news, and everything unfolding. So I'm trying to fit it in with this kind of separate category of video that's going to be, I think it's going to be a documentary type video. I'm just doing research right now. I'm really excited for it. And I want to have a focus on health. So that's how I'm going to manage to fit that in without compromising the hour we have in the morning for the news. But if there are important health things that come up, I'll still cover it. But I'm just want to let you know, stay tuned for that. That should be here. I don't know when, maybe a couple weeks, maybe sooner if I could really buckle down and put in the time. But anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you. We're going to get into the news. There's a lot to cover. Holy smokes. And just so you know, everything I talk about and everything that I don't talk about that I have read over the last 24 hours will be in the Substack in the description. I'll post it shortly after this show at about 9:40 a.m. Pacific time. So you guys could find all the links discussed without having to wait for me to respond or just tirelessly browse the internet for what I'm talking about. So you could find that in the description on my Substack. You could also find everything you need to know about my shows on my website in the description. If you're a chess lover, you can follow me on Twitch. That's where I'll be streaming on the weekends, just casual chess streams as I just play chess for fun and stream it live there. You guys can challenge me there, or you could just watch me embarrass myself and lose at chess. It's a lot of fun, and I'm trying to get better at it. It's just a good recreational gaming time for me. So you can follow me on Twitch for that, and all that's on my website as well. So please do. All right. Good morning, Left Maryland. How are you? And Quiet Toad 11. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Princess Slum, Lori, good morning. Good to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to get right into things. Let's figure out what the heck's going on. And first, we're going to look at the markets this morning. They're up. They're green. They're just above that mark they need to be at for everything to be just fine on paper. Yeah, everything's fine. Stocks edge higher in countdown to inflation data. So we'll see that inflation data as rate cuts cool. Expectations for rate cuts cool, and the markets are kind of reacting, and we'll see how this data comes out. Of course, it's probably going to be BS data that's later revised. Let's see, we have gold, $2,031 this morning. Silver, $23.04. And Bitcoin, 45,541. Okay, we're just kind of in that same zone we've been in the last couple of weeks with a little bit of capitulation. Now, Bitcoin did see a pretty remarkable move. We'll talk about that in a bit. But let's just talk more about the data we're seeing. And actually, let's take a second here. Before we get into this, I just want to share my perspective on this whole situation, the whole shebang, if you will, from finance to the world news to the U.S. news, the open borders, the war going on globally, essentially, the information war, just the unfolding of everything across, running the gambit of every topic you could imagine. And it reminds me of the boiling frog phenomenon, which is you throw a frog in a boiling pot of water and that frog is going to be shocked, right? Its nerves are going to notice immediately and it's going to escape the boiling water in a fit of survival. But if you put the frog in some nice room temperature water and slowly raise the temperature of that water, it's going to just sit there and begin to boil. And I think that is kind of what happens to us with how things are unfolding. I think part of us expect, and I know this is me for sure, I'm always predicting the future, seeing what's going to happen next. What do I think? Ever since I was younger, becoming a teenager, I would look at the whole world and I'd think, wow, things are going to collapse. Shit's going to hit the fan. And for some reason, we always think it's going to happen overnight, if it's going to happen at all. But the reality is, I think it's a slow creep. And I think that's the slow creep that we see now. And I think we kind of forget. And I think it's a real possibility things get much, much worse slowly as the heat gets turned up. And we could kind of see this with, if you really look at the whole picture, if you stand back and really look at everything on the table and the timeline, you could see that things are ramping up. It's happening now, little by little, and it's getting worse and worse. How bad is it going to get? Only time will tell. Hopefully it's not that bad and things can just get back to normal. People say normal is a thing of the past. Normal is never going to happen. But part of me, maybe the part of me that's just delusional, I don't know. Part of me thinks everything's going to be okay in the end and that we'll get by. But that doesn't mean don't prepare for the worst. I mean, we have tornadoes hitting unexpected parts of the world. We've got earthquakes. We've got natural disasters. We've got coups. We've got criminals. We've got violence. We've got all kinds of things that are worth prepping for, even if they are unlikely. It doesn't hurt. An ounce of prevention is, what do they say? What's the old phrase? I don't know. It's worth a lot. So an ounce of prevention is worth a lot. That's the phrase, right? Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Let me know what you think. Are we doomed? Are things going to be okay? Are things ramping up slowly? Is it going to just hit the fan overnight? I don't know. But let's look at some of this finance stuff. Just a friendly reminder here from Genevieve Rockdechter on x.com. And this is actually kind of a good one. I like this. And none of this is financial advice, unless you want to take financial advice from somebody who's rather poor for the most part, working on it, though. So she writes, "Good morning, everyone. Here's a friendly reminder. The U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since 1900. The S&P has returned an astounding over 291,000% inflation adjusted since 1900. Owning stocks is risky in the short term. Not owning stocks is risky in the long term." And it just shows this, the S&P 500 total return from 1871 till about 2015. And it's a steady increase for the most part, especially in the long term here. But if you take a snapshot in the short term, in a decade, you could really lose your ass. But this just goes to show, unless this system completely collapses, it's probably not a bad idea to have investments in various things, including the stock market, which people are losing confidence in daily. But I still, in my mind, would be investing in various things, as well as being smart with those investments and not putting all my eggs in one basket. Because, if you invest in 10 things, many of those things are bound to fail. But in the long term, it's not a bad move. From stocks and companies to physical assets, gold, silver, food, water, guns and ammo are fun. And they're not just fun. They're essential for freedom in a lot of people's minds, including the founding fathers. Look at see the Second Amendment. It's not, the Second Amendment's not about fun, but I just say that kind of tongue in cheek. They are a good thing to have. But yeah, investments, it's an interesting one. And I was thinking of, I think about investing a lot, and I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. I love it. I invested for a few months as like my primary mode of income. And that was before I started streaming. And I did that for a few months, maybe 3 or 4 months. And I really enjoyed it. I'd be up at the crack of dawn. I'd be following all these companies and news and events and data and trading and day trading and options trading. And it's a lot of fun and you can make a lot of money. It's extremely risky, especially the way I was trying to go at it. But I guess in my mid-20s. And, high risk, high reward. I paid bills, but also I lost a shitload of money too and ended up having to go back to a normal job for a bit, which was short-lived, and then I got back into streaming and other things. So, and that's where I am today, kind of independently working my way on various projects now. So anyway, rant over. There you go. Thank you, Left Maryland. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Thank you. Y'all are on it. You know what I'm talking about. You're smart. I'm preaching to the choir here, aren't I? Good morning, Roxy. Good to see you. That's it. Anyway, let's see what else other things we've got here real quick in finance, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the stories here, which are quite heavy, quite intense. So let's see. Massive layoffs are coming in 2024. Peter Stange put out this video. He says that a survey of 900 companies says 4 in 10 are planning layoffs, citing the coming recession, and more than half are freezing hires. This comes after a brutal 2023 with layoffs doubling on the year. Worst hit are big tech, construction, and finance, and retail now that shoplifting is legal. Yeah, holy moly. So big tech, construction, and finance, and retail. And this is a real big bummer as this happens. Especially I look at the construction part and it reminds me of BlackRock and all these major companies. They're going to be the ones left with enough capital to jump in and buy up properties and buildings and pick up the pieces once things have fallen apart, as we all lose our asses, right? Hopefully you and I are in good enough positions to ride this through, just like many of us did during 2007, 2008, and get by. But it's going to get rough, and a lot of things are pointing to that. So prepare to the best of your ability. Wouldn't hurt to have a good amount of food on standby and these kinds of things, and backup plans or second jobs or side hustles. If you guys have any of these things, what are you doing? What are you doing to make extra money? Do you have do you run a business on the side of your full-time job? What are you doing? I want to know. If you want to contact me privately, you can on my website. My email's there. Just go to the contact page in the description. Website's in the description. You could always comment on the videos, or you can contact me on Twitter. I'm just curious, and I love to hear from you. And thank you guys for the feedback on the show. I'll be making and tweaking and making adjustments as we go. Anyway, onward. We've got that Bitcoin situation yesterday. If you are a crypto person, you watch Bitcoin closely, you probably heard this story that the SEC was hacked and their Twitter account ended up saying some things about Bitcoin. Well, someone hacked their Twitter account at SEC.gov, and Twitter Safety verified that, putting out this message here. And the message from Twitter Safety said, we can confirm that the SEC.gov account was compromised, and we have completed a preliminary investigation. Based on our investigation, the compromise was not due to any breach of X's systems, but rather due to an unidentified individual obtaining control over a phone number associated with the SEC government account through a third party. We can also confirm that the account did not have two-factor authentication enabled at the time the account was compromised. We encourage all users to enable this extra layer of security. More information and tips on how to keep your account secure can be found in our help center. And isn't that ironic that the SEC got hacked because they weren't securing their account using all the tools they possibly could, yet they're out there and for our own safety and our own this and that, tweeting things like this. At SEC.gov said on October 16th, 2023, quote, "Careful what you read on the internet. The best source of information about the SEC is the SEC." That's not the one I wanted, but that's funny. Oh my gosh. That's a funny one, but they also say, protect your passwords and this and that. So silly. So what happened is somebody went on there and they tweeted about Bitcoin coming, Bitcoin advancements in Bitcoin, more acceptance of Bitcoin. I don't know exactly what terms I'm looking for here, but it made Bitcoin capitulate like crazy. Let's go look at the charts. I mean, it absolutely went on a volatile roller coaster ride. Let's look at just a few days here. So it skyrocketed and then it fell back down. So it went from all the way down to about 43,000 up to almost 47,000, over 47,000. And now we're back down to 45,000 because this came out. It skyrocketed with this message from the hackers, and then it dropped after. And this isn't an accident. I mean, these things happen and people take advantage of the situation, and we don't know who it is, what it is. Maybe it's a lone wolf situation. I doubt it, though. Who knows? It'd be interesting. And there's always people digging and looking at the numbers. So it'd be curious to see who made money there, if at all possible. That research is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but there's a lot of good people out there. And if we see anything that is interdasting, we'll share it. Left Maryland says, I know a friend that collects scrap metal, averaging $500 a month additional money. Let's see, $500 a month. I mean, that's good. Talking, $5,000 a year, a little bit of pocket cash. That's great. Scrap metal. That's good. If you have a truck and you have the means and a little bit of gas money, go get that scrap metal. And people do that. You'll see them just go around areas, and even people that are having construction done on their houses or these kinds of things, they go and talk to them and they say, hey, what are you doing with all this scrap? Do you want me to haul it off for you? And sometimes a contractor or a homeowner will say, yeah, get rid of it because I am just going to have to pay for it to get dumped anyway. Take it off my hands. And boom, they get their hands on these metals and whatnot. It's not a bad method. I like that. Scrap metal. And geez, the price of metals, they probably do all right. $500 a month. I'd take it. I'll take $500 a month any day. All right. Onward. Politically speaking here, we've got Hunter Biden really shaking up the news this morning. Hunter Biden made a surprise appearance at oversight hearing. And let's watch this video from Fox News. They're not anyone's favorite news, but we'll watch this real quick. Shout out to Lucas. Good morning, Lucas. Hope you're feeling better, man. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and share this. We'll watch this quick clip from Fox.
Hunter Biden broke the law. He did so deliberately. You did so flagrantly. You showed up on the Hill, on the Senate side, the day of that congressional subpoena to defy it and spit in the face of this committee. That's what you did. The question the American people are asking us is, what is Hunter Biden so afraid of? Why can't you show up for a congressional deposition? You're here for a political stunt. This is just a PR stunt to you. This is just a game that you are playing with the American people. You're playing with the truth. Hunter Biden wasn't afraid to sell access to Joe Biden to the highest bidder when he was in elected office. He wasn't afraid to trade on the Biden brand, peddle influence, and share those ill-gotten gains with members of his family, including Joe Biden. He wasn't afraid to compromise the integrity of the presidency and vice presidency by involving Joe Biden in shady business deals with our foreign adversaries. But Hunter Biden, you were too afraid to show up for a deposition. And you still can't today. I believe that Hunter Biden should be held completely in contempt. I think he should be hauled off to jail right now, because it wasn't long ago, too, my friends on the other side of the aisle, that you also believed in the power of a congressional subpoena. Not long ago at all. You believed in holding those who refused to comply with a congressional subpoena accountable. And I stood with each and every one of you. I am the only member in this room today who has held a member of my own party in contempt of Congress for not showing up for a subpoena. And I see nothing but complete hypocrisy on the other side of the aisle. The ranking member of this committee even so eloquently put it. The lesson is, please tell your children out there in America, if you get a subpoena to go before Congress, go. You have a legal responsibility to do so. So the hypocrisy is stunning. What are we to tell our children today? There's nothing the other side can say with a straight face. As the only member of this committee to vote to hold a member of contempt of my own party, Let me be clear. This should not be a partisan issue. If Congress issues a subpoena, you show up, period. This is not a responsibility we take lightly. It brings no joy for us to do this, but the president's son broke the law and must be held accountable in the same way anybody else would. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do so. And my last message to you, Hunter Biden, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Will the gentlelady yield for a question? Will the gentlelady yield? Will my friend yield from South Carolina?
Sure.
I do want to commend the gentlelady who was the only Republican who stood up and voted to hold in contempt the Republican members of the House who blatantly and categorically refused to comply with subpoenas that came from the bipartisan January 6th committee. I would like to ask my friend, Ms. Mace from South Carolina, whether she's aware of all the case law which says that the committee has to engage in good faith interaction with the witnesses they've called, and they're supposed to arrive at a solution. And what do you think about the fact that the chairman on multiple occasions gave this witness the opportunity to come before the full committee and he agreed to that?
We issued a congressional subpoena, and I know with your constitutional law background, you know exactly what that means, and he should have showed up. And because of your vote and because of your statements, you should be voting to hold this man in contempt of Congress today.
Hey, I agree. But, rules for thee and not for me. That's the motto of the corrupt regime. Hunter Biden included in that scam. But I don't think he's having a good time. And I agree with what's going on here in the chats here. Roxy says it's all theater. This is all theater. I want to know who the scuzzball is next to Bim laughing. Yeah, they were chuckling there in the middle of that video, huh? That's interesting. I was wondering too, what's so damn funny? Is this funny? Find this funny? Is this funny? Yeah. Thank you, Jack Dalton 420. I appreciate that. Much love from Sweden to all of you. Thank you so much, Jack. But this Hunter thing is very interesting this morning. Representative Nancy Mace said, quote, "Who bribed Hunter Biden to be here today? That's my first question." And then she started saying that you're the epitome of white privilege, which is absolutely stupid theater. And of course, they bring race into everything, don't they? It's just pit brother against brother. Bring race into it. Yeah, that's always a good hot button issue. He's being hammered by questions like this from the media. If you listen closely, I'll repeat it after.
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Does he call you?
Yes.
Do you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business? Everybody stop. That's it.
So, Hunter Biden, are you on crack today? It was a question in the background, a couple of questions about the crack, and he does not look happy trying to ignore these things. A reporter also asked Hunter, "What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden?" And of course, a lot of people are calling for him to be arrested immediately, and that didn't happen. We also have Hunter Biden walks out of the hearing as soon as Marjorie Taylor Greene begins to speak. Interestingly, let's see a short clip of that.
Time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently, you're afraid of my words.
Whoa! Oh!
I'd like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
Burst their bubble. Wow, that's too bad.
Nothing's happening, and it's just, you know what? It goes back to what Roxy said. It's all theater. What's going to happen? Do something. I mean, gosh, they mock him openly when he leaves. Yeah, of course they do. And I think that it all does seem like theater, but I think there is a certain level of importance and relevance to it. I'm not extremely confident that this is great a great leap forward in the whole situation. I mean, people are saying we need to arrest Hunter. Oh, well, let's make a list of all the people that should be arrested. Why don't we? The list is endless, and it includes Republicans and Democrats and corruption from so many places. I think that this is a really difficult thing to navigate with all the things going on, with all the different stories and all the different actions that could be taken in order to make the world a better place and have a little bit of law and order. I think that this is why people talk about distractions. These are distractions. It's because there's always something in the background more important than what we're looking at currently. And that's just the reality of the situation. That's why we try to run the gambit of everything and put the pieces together. But boy, is it tough. So we'll stay tuned and see what happens the rest of the day with this and what articles are published and maybe what Hunter says or what people say and what happens ultimately. But it's a big nothing burger, really, is what it is, except that people aren't being held accountable still, and law doesn't apply to them, apparently. I've been looking at this, especially as we get... I'm digressing, by the way, out of this. I want to talk about the weather for a second here. The West Coast experienced quite a storm, but not compared to the storms experienced on the East Coast, with large parts of New York City still out of power today, as well as New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maine seeing the worst of it after New York. And there's this cool website called poweroutage.us. If you're not familiar with it, you could go there and see kind of the current status of power outages as documented here in sort of a live fashion. And you can see here that the eastern seaboard is largely affected by this, including Florida. But like if you click on New York, it'll show you all the counties and give you data on how many outages they currently have. And a lot of power has been restored since the last day or two. And Washington's doing really well now. They were orange yesterday. But we just need to stay on track of this stuff, right? The weather is important. We've had crazy wind storms in the Pacific Northwest and Canada, and crazy seas, wind, 65-mile-per-hour gusts, and these kinds of things. I went offline. I was streaming Twitch a couple days ago, and it knocked me offline. I think yesterday morning it knocked me offline as well. Yep. And so it's crazy. It's crazy. We gotta be prepared for any weather and cold and anything. We never know. These storms can develop very quickly, and within days, you could find yourself in a storm or without power. So make sure you've got a generator, if at all possible, or at least ways to stay warm and ways to stay fed and watered and all that. You never know. And it is unlikely, so there's no reason to like lose sleep over it per se, but prepare nonetheless. I just want to fit that in here. Onward here. Let's talk about the world, man. This is crazy. We talked briefly about, and I keep hearing a weird noise. I'm sorry if that's coming through. I don't know what it is, but I think it's in my studio, like a creaking. But we saw yesterday, I briefly covered a story about Ecuador and one of their most wanted criminals escaping prison. And I just mentioned it because I saw it and I'm like, really? This guy's going to come straight to the US, or, he's facilitating a large amount of criminals underneath him. This is just not a good situation that he's escaped prison. And this unfolded into what a lot of people are considering to be a coup. And this article here kind of goes through it all. And by the way, if you go research this coup, I'll say coup in quotes, that occurred, there's very graphic imagery, and I wouldn't recommend it. And I'm not going to be playing those videos today because I'm not interested in that stuff. I don't think it's something we need to see, but I think it's important to understand what's going on at the same time. But we will recognize what's going on here. Absolutely insane. From the WLT report, we've got this. Ecuador has fallen. Military called in to retake the country. And yes, they were called in. Ecuador's president declares an internal armed conflict and mobilizes the army to neutralize terrorist groups. And this was in response to this guy's escape from prison. Here is the actual military mobilization declaration, if you will, from Ecuador's president in Espanol. right? Or whatever. And back to this article, they write, Ecuador is reportedly being attacked. This is WLT report. They say in a coordinated fashion in multiple areas of the country. Earlier today, gunmen stormed the TC television network headquarters in Ecuador's largest city, Guayaquil, took hostages, and broadcast an announcement to the country. The criminal gangs demanded that the president of the country declare a national emergency. Sources say that all the gunmen who stormed the network have been apprehended by the military. We are also seeing reports that other gunmen within the criminal network attempted to storm the Corondelet Palace in what some are calling a coup attempt. However, many reports explain that these attacks are likely linked to the jailbreak of a top cartel boss. The latest development to transpire since the attacks took place this morning is the military being called to patrol certain cities like Quito. Here's what we currently know. I meme, therefore I am, tweeted this out, very graphic. Ecuador is collapsing. The video has been deleted. And they say that this could be the USA very soon. This is Ecuador, and they've got hostages, and it's a horrible, horrible video. I'm not going to play it. Like I said, they do perform heinous acts that I don't care to share on air on my show. Armed forces are patrolling the streets of Quito, Ecuador. Here we see a military vehicle. Chuck Calesto said, coup attempt purportedly underway in Ecuador. Ecuadorian military arrives to barricade front of the Carondelet Palace. The situation's developing. Here we have cartel members reportedly executing hostages in Ecuador, a video that went out unconfirmed, but it's pretty widely accepted that that is the case, and that is happened. It did happen, and that many people actually lost their lives yesterday. Toting pistols, shotguns, machine guns, grenades, and sticks of dynamite, approximately 20 men overran the studio during an El Noticiero news program. With the cameras broadcasting live, the men could be seen on camera while some employees lay down on the floor, and someone was heard yelling, "Don't shoot," before the signal was eventually cut. End Wokeness issued a chilling warning on X.com. Quote, Ecuador was just overrun by the cartel. Prison takeovers, hostages, bombings, and executions in multiple cities. A news station was hijacked on live TV. 8 to 10 million unknowns from these kinds of regions have crossed through the border since Biden took office. DHS Mayorkas admitted privately 85% of these illegals have been let in. You can look away for now, but it may be happening in your own backyard next. And again, the boiling water phenomenon. It happens a little bit day by day, and people just say nothing's happening until it happens. And then, oh my gosh, they realize the water's boiling. A horrible situation. Hopefully they have gotten it under control. But it is alarming. It is very alarming. You know, the border's wide open. And the argument from the left and things, and people that consider the right to be deranged conspiracy theorists who are racist and don't like people from other countries, which is utter BS for the most part. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, but when you look at the border situation, the argument that these are all people that need help is just ridiculous. And I mean, this situation is going to be taken advantage of from criminals and cartels. It's just the bottom line. And human traffickers and sex traffickers and drug traffickers and all this. It's the truth. And these people will take advantage of people that actually need help. The mother with a family who needs to find a better way in life is going to be taken advantage of by cartels and evil people. And it happens all the time. And leaving the border wide open and actually helping facilitate this illegal activity is just encouraging this crime to continue to happen. And it's giving the opportunity to criminals to gather in the states. It's a big problem, which is why Trump's out there saying we're going to clean this thing up as soon as we can. And I hope that happens. We need law and order, and we need to do better as a country and better as a world, really. This stuff's unacceptable. Oh my gosh. Ecuador. So hopefully we hear more about this soon. We also have Poland in the news, a potential uprising in Poland. The battle against media suppression and the shadow of globalist domination. Jim Ferguson wrote about this on X.com. He says that protests have erupted across Poland in response to Donald Tusk's recent measures targeting the media, which some critics perceive as an overreach of power. He goes on to say, this move by Tusk has sparked a debate about a balance between government authority and freedom of the press. Additionally, his threat to strip protesting MPs of their immunity and potentially arrest them has further intensified the situation. Observers note that this scenario echoes previous political situations in Italy, Greece, and Ireland, where EU influence has been a contentious issue. These developments are raising concerns about the growing influence of globalist agendas in national politics, with many people still seemingly unaware of the potential implications of such interventions on national sovereignty and democratic processes. Protests, right now calm, but protests nonetheless. Peaceful now. Poland in crisis as conservative MPs are arrested after police stormed the presidential palace in Warsaw. Polish nationals are reportedly taking to the streets in protest of what appears to be globalists using the security forces to silence their opposition. Crazy, huh? Jim Ferguson on X.com at Jim Ferguson UK is following this. If you want to follow him, that's one option for you for updates if you like to stay on top of it in that manner. If not, we'll discuss things as we go. Onward. What else do we got here? Blinken said that there will be consequences for the continued attacks in the Red Sea by the Houthis. Just a continuation of the disaster over there. We've got this as well. Navy ships, fighter jets fight off the latest Houthi attack in the Red Sea. The U.S. military Central Command said the complex attack launched by the Houthis included bomb-carrying drones, cruise missiles, and one anti-ship ballistic missile. And this is affecting trade. It's adding days to the route of these ships that can no longer utilize the Red Sea path, and they're going around the Horn of Africa. Shipping prices are increasing by the day. So we've also got Navy ship. Oh, we just said that. Just a note, Vodafone was down in the UK. Network crashes for thousands, including London. Again, probably, as they say, a network crash. Who knows if it's a hack or what, but the infrastructure is at risk. That's the headline there. Infrastructure at risk. We see these things over and over again. China in the news. China vowed Wednesday it would never compromise on Taiwan and told the United States to stop providing military aid to the island country. So China's committed to Taiwan and tells the U.S. to back off. Taiwan issued an emergency phone alert after China launched a satellite that flew over their southern Taiwanese airspace, and that went out to people's phones. Air raid alert, missile fly over Taiwan airspace, be aware. And we've got India here. India plans to double its coal production in 2030 and add 88 GW of mostly coal-fired thermal power plants. What, gigawatts per Bloomberg? That's because they know the truth about the energy that's going to be needed to support their population, and they don't want to be dependent on other countries for that can barely keep up themselves. A lot of countries rely on other countries for their power. This whole situation with energy is disastrous. So I think that's a good thing they're doing that. I think it's a good thing they're doing that. I think every country should be doing that. This is absolutely crazy. All right, before we digress, let's just go to the chats real quick here. What do we got going on, folks? Like Cuba sending their criminals Yes. Thank you. Yeah, please hit that like button. Thank you. 37 watching on Rumble. Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Slum, for the donation over there on D Live. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, this is nothing new and has been going on for a very, very long time. I know. Same story, huh? Roxy says, oh, Poland fought so hard for their freedom. This is horrible. It is absolutely horrible, the destabilization we see. Easy come, easy go. Maybe not that easy, but, you know, it's horrible. Indeed. All right, everybody. Let's move on. Let's talk about the USA and what's going on. New York City, a woke nightmare for many, which is why there's been this exodus that we've seen. What's next? What do we got going on today and yesterday? Really, this story broke yesterday, but I think it's important that we cover this. We could just consider this an ad for homeschooling. Students in Bill Milligan says here on x.com that students in New York City are being kicked out of their high school and pushed into remote learning in order to temporarily house almost 2,000 migrants who crossed into the U.S. illegally and have been released from federal custody. This is a jaw dropper. Viral News New York City says that Madison High School, Brooklyn, New York, migrants from Floyd Bennett Field were moved into the high school due to weather conditions. Kids who attend the high school will now move to remote schooling from home. Yeah. Over 1,900 migrants were transferred to the school. Everyone needs to call and email the White House and tell them enough is enough. Migrants will be moved out by tomorrow when the weather conditions return to normal. And that is today. So we shall see. But this is just crazy. They're prioritizing illegal migrants over students in our country. And people are just okay with this. Oh, you know, it's the boiling frog situation here. People are okay with the remote learning thing now after COVID. Oh, remote learning, it's fine, it's great, and it's still learning. No, it's not great. But how easy was it for them to just do that without any pushback? They did it. What's next? Remote learning for climate change? Oh, it's just too much energy to have schools. Let's just get rid of the schools. You can learn from home. We'll be saving so many lives, and it'll help the planet, right? What's next? They're going to turn the temperature up little by little, and people are going to say, well, you know, the government cares about us. They said that remote learning's good, and we're helping a lot of people that need help and are looking for better beginnings. No. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. New York City mayor should be contacted and be made aware that people are not happy with this. Even Elon Musk came out to speak on this, and I think he's absolutely right. I am really happy that Elon is speaking on these things truthfully. He says this is what happens when you run out of hotel rooms. Soon cities will run out of schools to vacate. Then they'll come for your homes, which we've already seen this kind of rhetoric from different government people saying, you know, open up your doors to some illegal migrants, help the situation. This is the altruistic nature that they kind of play on if you're a good person, you'll do this, but no, it's a trap. All right. It's a trap. You know, they want you to open your doors to migrants, but you don't see any of them opening their doors in any of their multiple homes that they have across our country and abroad. Right? Nope. Holy moly. That really gets me going. That's why people are homeschooling like crazy. Phew. Pandora's box. That's right. Kristen Mag says that this is basically Pandora's box. This is not a good situation. All right, let's talk a little bit about electric bikes and things. We had a bike shop in New York that was consumed by fire after a lithium-ion battery exploded. Police say the store was closed at the time of the fire and nobody was harmed. But we see this happening all the time, and I'm not a fan of these batteries and these bikes and these cars and these things. That's just me. That's what. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of this video. This is what it looks like when they explode. And that fire that you see is not easy to extinguish. All right, professional firefighters struggle with putting that out. There's nothing much you could really do. And these are in all types of vehicles and recreational vehicles and all these kinds of things. I mean, your town probably has these batteries in these shops, as well as car dealerships and etc. We actually had one person who was killed and several others injured after a Fremantle Highway. After the Fremantle Highway, a cargo ship carrying 3,000 cars, nearly 500 of them electric, caught fire. Same type of fire. And this is really horrible. And I have the wrong link here, don't I? That's great. Let's see if I could find this video. I mean, cargo ships going up in flames from transporting these things. This is not going to be good, I would imagine, for things like insurance and whatnot. And it's frightening. I mean, a lot of people have these cars in their garage and whatnot. And we're going to be seeing these fires.
An electric vehicle is thought to have started a fire on board a cargo ship carrying thousands of cars. One crew member was killed and others injured off the Dutch coast. Officials say the blaze could be burning for days. A salvage team is monitoring this situation. Authorities are concerned about oil or cargo from the vessel polluting the World Heritage Site.
Wow. There's nothing they could do. They say it's going to be burning for a long time. Wow. Wide Awake Media covered that this morning. I don't like these electric vehicles and these electric recreational vehicles. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, Teslas are great. They're fast. They're remarkable with their technology integrations and whatnot. But to me, I don't think it's overall going to be a good thing for humanity. I think we're going to look back and be like, really, that's how we were utilizing electricity? I think there's better ways. I think that this is rudimentary at best, in my opinion. Maybe I'm ignorant on the situation, but that's just me. And the hype behind Teslas and electric bikes and all this stuff drives me nuts, by the way. You know, it drives me absolutely nuts. And it makes me too a little bit hesitant to get on board with Elon Musk and all his endeavors and all his thoughts on things. I don't agree with him on everything. Yeah, where's Greenpeace and all the other eco-terrorists, Left Maryland says. They don't actually care about the environment, okay? They care about the fake climate change narrative. They don't care about actual pollutants in the environment and chemicals in the environment, in our waterways and in our water that comes through our house. In our bottled water that's full of plastics. We saw a study that everyone was talking about yesterday on that, the actual chemicals in our environment. I'm becoming more and more aware of these chemicals in products that you wouldn't even think. I mean, we're surrounded by them in building materials, of what our houses are constructed of what we use on our lawns to mitigate weeds, on what's used in our communities to fight different like algae in our water system and stuff. It's ridiculous. And people don't think about it. You know, people are a little bit aware for the most part that chemicals are bad for you. And but I think that there's this misconception that, well, if I just get exposed a little bit, I'll be fine. So I'm going to use this chemical on this or that. And there is something to be said for that. Less exposure is better for your health, but I'm hesitant to utilize these things more and more as I learn more about how it builds up in our systems and how it affects the reproduction of animals in the ecosystem and all this. This is actual environmentalism, and it's got a bad reputation because of the fake environmentalism out there that's not doing much good for the world. Onward. So we've got this narrative out there about child trafficking and the Ghislaine Maxwell case and all this. Politico's saying that MAGA conservatives are obsessed with conspiracy theories about the situation and child trafficking and all this. What's wrong with being so concerned about child trafficking, especially when you have it all in front of you and all the evidence. And it's just a crazy proposition to me. A lot of this stuff's true. And I mean, this information war continues on the matter, and they're just lying. And a lot of people believe it. They tune into these what people consider fake news organizations, and they believe this narrative of, oh, you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. And it's a really hard thing to navigate, man. It pulls families apart, pulls friends apart. It makes people just want to say, I don't want to even look at what's going on in the world. It's stupid. And it's true. It is frustrating. And I get why people do that. I do the same thing. That's why I stream chess. That's why I play chess. It's so I could just push it all to the side. We have to live our lives while this all unfolds. I mean, there's no reason not to, right? It would be silly just to curl up in a corner and give up. We just got to keep on pushing and hope that things turn out all right. That's my plan. But anyway, the situations in our country are absolutely horrible, and the illegals coming across aren't helping the situation. They're being prioritized over our own people. Jonathan Cho is a journalist in Seattle area, and he's out there every single day looking at the situation. And he reported on another skeleton being discovered in the Greenbelt in Queen Anne, Seattle, which is a nice area of Seattle. Literally a skeleton found just on the side of the road inside the forest. Just horrible, absolutely horrible. And Jonathan Cho, I mean, I love his reporting and everything. I don't agree with all of his positions, but he says, where are the city and county outreach workers? There must be more accountability. Yeah. And this brings me to, like, what is the solution here? Right? The homelessness, the drug use. It's horrible. And I don't think we're doing anything close to a good job at handling the situation. And really, like, an outreach worker, outreach workers aren't going to solve this problem, although they could have maybe prevented some of these things from happening. It's a whole show we could do on how to fix this problem. We're throwing a lot of money at it, and it's probably just lining the pockets of certain politicians and mayors and whatnot. Doesn't seem to be having any effect, even as those numbers increase. The number of homelessness increases. It really makes you wonder what's wrong with the system to where you could throw billions of dollars at something and it just gets worse. Something must be wrong there, huh? Fauci flip-flops during Congress grilling. Ex-White House doctor ducks more than 100 questions about COVID, and he admits he approved risky Wuhan coronavirus research proposal without reading it. Yeah, without reading it. Yeah, I didn't know any of this was bad. I had no idea. I didn't read it. It was an accident. Yeah, right. I mean, people aren't ever going to forget this, and until there's some kind of accountability. 2020, the year the world stood still. Remember? Yeah. Wow, I absolutely cannot stand that audio there. But the year the world stood still. Just bizarre. All predicated on BS, by the way, which is largely accepted by the scientific community and everybody who's looked at this with any type of logic. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And then, of course, you got the World Health Organization head, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, and he's saying, he's declaring war on meat and traditional agriculture in the name of fighting climate change. Oh, yeah, don't eat meat. One cow could feed you for hundreds of days, right? One cow can feed a person for like a year almost. But don't, it's bad, though. It's bad. Don't eat that. Nutritious, delicious. And growing food, oh man, that's bad too. Traditional agriculture? No way. You want a garden? I don't think so. We have crickets for you. They want people eating bugs and artificial foods and processed foods. Ugh. Horrible. All right. Later on today, we've got some really interesting things happening that I recommend you check out if you're somebody who has time to listen to these things as your day goes on. Jim Brewer was with Alex Jones live in studio. He, of course, is the hilarious comedian that stands up to what he believes is true and cares about his country very much. Jim Brewer joined Alex Jones in the studio yesterday, and they published it. I don't know if it happened yesterday, if this was a live event. I think it may have been, but there is a 2-hour video there on band.video from Alex Jones and Jim Brewer. So I recommend you check that one out if you're interested in that. Share the video far and wide. You could follow Alex Jones on Twitter at RealAlexJones as well. He's back on there in case you didn't know. And watch that video. Jim Brewer is fantastic. Alex Jones does a pretty darn good job as well. And also we've got this one from James O'Keefe. And this is coming out today at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's 1 p.m. Pacific time. James O'Keefe writes that insiders and whistleblowers inside the government are joining us on our weekly spaces tomorrow, thanks to Elon Musk's voice disguise feature on x.com. So if you're following James O'Keefe today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, they are going to have insiders and whistleblowers in this Twitter space or X space. And I recommend watching that if you have time this afternoon, or if they publish it. The recording will be available after. I'm sure as well people are recording it and will be publishing excerpts that are interesting for us to see later. So just so you know, that's what's going on today too. And we'll cover it tomorrow if there's anything worth covering there that's interesting or relevant. And then the whole situation with the tunnels and under the synagogue in New York City and all that, a lot of people are making some wild accusations that maybe it has something to do with child trafficking and all this, and that it was connected to a children's museum. I haven't confirmed those allegations or what is going on there, but boy, I certainly hope that's not the case. That is just creepy stuff. I can't believe that unfolded the way it did this week. It's just mind-blowing. If I missed anything important, you can always tag me on Twitter or put it in the chats or contact me via email on my website in the description. And I appreciate the feedback in these things. And thank you for bearing with me as I get the show kind of looped up into a good quality here. I'll be making upgrades and changes. I got to redo my intro and my outro and this and that. And I'm going to do my format soon. Just stand by. It's a one-man show here. It's kind of difficult, especially doing, a bunch of stuff on the side. Right after this, I got to go move my ass and get to work on other things. And then I'll be back in the studio this evening to check in and see how y'all are doing and check my emails and do a little bit of work here, continue my research for some future content, etc. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for liking and commenting and sharing this with people who may enjoy this little wrap up of news in the morning on what's going on. Again, shortly after I end this live, I'm going to be publishing all of these stories and more on my Substack, and you could find that in the description. It's free. It's just a resource. So if you missed the show, you have this information, or if you want to not have to search for it, etc., it's there, and you can enjoy that Substack. Thank you all. Thank you, Quiet Toad. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, all supporters and viewers. I appreciate you all very much. I'll be live again tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time at the same bat place, same bat time, to talk about this news and everything else that comes with it. So everybody, with that said, good luck today. Have a good one. Take care. God bless and Godspeed.